I'll slick my hair. Gotta get myself a boutonniere. Lulu's back in town. You can tell all my best, all my blondes and brunettes, Mr. Otis regrets that he ain't gonna be around. You can tell the mailman not to call. I ain't a-coming home until the fall. I might not get back home at all. Lulu's back in town. So when all those little gals come knocking at my door, you can tell them that the whistler won't be home no more. Cause Lulu's back in town.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present our Meet the People department. Our guest tonight is a Hollywood Motion Picture secretary who took an 8-month leave of absence from her job and made a trip alone around the world. After returning to her position, she wrote and published a book about her experiences, Woman Alone Around the World. I'd like you to meet Virginia Cox Smith.
Well, Virginia, we're very happy to have you with us this evening. You know, I've done a bit of traveling myself, but I've never known an attractive woman who took a trip around the world alone.
I was told that only an American woman would dare to do such a thing. But although I've traveled alone, I couldn't have had more fun than this shown me if I'd been flanked by companions.
Well, how did you happen to take this trip, Virginia?
I inherited a little money and had to decide whether to save it for my old age or to do what I'd always wanted to do, take a trip around the world.
So you got reckless and decided to shoot the works.
Yes, for once in my life, I decided to practice doing with things instead of doing without them, and I haven't regretted it.
Well, now, Virginia, on your trip, you had an opportunity of meeting men from many countries. Did you find them different in their treatment of women?
Yes, Frenchmen, I'd say, are most charming and make an art of love.
Yes.
Englishmen understate their emotions. Italians are effusive. And men and women in Sweden share in a 50-50 arrangement where frequently the women pay their own way.
Yeah. Good old Sweden, good old Sweden.
In the Middle and Far East, men really rule, and women gain their highest respect only by bearing sons.
What did other women think about American men?
Oh, you fellows do quite well.
Yes.
In fact, women in other parts of the world seem to value our men more than we do. They like the way you treat us.
Yes, I've often felt that we're not fully appreciated at home. I was thinking of getting ready for a trip anyhow. Well, tell me about your romances. You must have had some interesting ones.
Well, there was a little flurry here and there. My first was with a brilliant, delightful Swedish doctor on a 30-day ocean voyage.
Is that so? You run into those Swedes all over, don't you?
You certainly do. And in Switzerland, a man was attentive to me who spoke only French. He wrote poems to me about every day, and I had to translate them and try to answer them.
And then there were, did you say there were some proposals?
Well, sort of.
I see.
In Athens, a man asked me to marry him, not for a girl's money, he said, but just for a hobby.
Yeah. Well, at least he wasn't mercenary about it.
Oh, no.
I knew the Greeks had a word for it, but I didn't know it was hobby.
Oh, well, he introduced me to his friend who also asked me to marry him.
Oh, that was good work there. Where were you then? In Hobby Lobby then on this business?
Well, frankly, Edgar, I think all either of them wanted was a ride into the United States on my American passport.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm a little disappointed. That doesn't sound too romantic. Virginia, let's talk a little about women for a moment. After observing them in other parts of the world, what would you say is one of the faults that our American women are making?
Trying to rule you men, I think.
Oh, yes. Say that louder, my dear. Are you listening, Francis?
So many wives say they're going to let their husbands do this or that. And it's a giveaway because let isn't an expression of freedom. It's an admission of control. Very few women of other nationalities would be guilty of it.
Virginia, I understand that you went to school for 3 months at the University of Geneva. In that city, there is a rather remarkable international school for children. It started, I believe, during World War II when people from many countries were living in Switzerland. Did you have a chance to visit that?
Yes, and it's what the schools of the future ought to be. Everything is taught from the world viewpoint instead of from a nationalistic or local approach.
I see. Everybody who travels has a special fondness for certain spots now, and I'm sure that you're no exception to that.
Well, in Switzerland and the Scandinavian countries, I enjoyed them most for their beauty, and for the mysterious and exotic, I loved Istanbul and Bangkok.
I see. And, of course, you now ran across some customs that you wanted to bring back and introduce here. I know I always come back with several new ideas.
Yes, I'd be in favor of more leisure. Those afternoon siestas.
Yes.
Those 2-hour luncheons. The long, friendly family dinners.
Yes. And while in Europe, I never hear diet mentioned. Do you?
No, thank heavens. They're honest. They take the size and shape of a woman as is.
And there's nothing false about them, is there?
Only here in America are we expected to starve and exercise until we become shapeless garment hangers.
Virginia, how did your book, Woman Alone Around the World, come about? Did it start by keeping a diary, or how?
No, I sent back letter reports to friends so that they could share the journey with me, and when I returned home, they urged me to edit them into a book, which I did. And as a matter of fact, it's opened a new life on me because I now appear before women's clubs and organizations talking about the trip and showing my films and so on.
Yes. Well, I guess in this country, perhaps more than anywhere else in the world, we work hard for success. But usually, it amounts to making money. And there's a lot more to living than that, don't you think?
Yes, and seeing how the rest of the world lives makes us realize we've got lots to learn. I like to tell women that the word happiness doesn't come from the word happen, but from the word happy. To stop waiting for something to happen and to do something to make themselves happy.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good bit of advice. I hope your book gets on the bestseller list and helps other women alone to get out of the ruts that they've fallen into. We want to thank you, Virginia Cox Smith, for being our guest this evening, and good night.
Thank you.